This is Harding Football with Coach Ronnie Huckeba.
Hi, and welcome to this week's edition of Harding Football with Ronnie Huckeba. It was a hard-fought loss at home on Saturday to Ouachita, 31-28, the final in overtime. And Ronnie Huckeba, when the Bisons and Tigers get together, we're just accustomed to these type of games, and to have everything going on campus. What an exciting atmosphere it was. The 1959 team was honored. The new video board was dedicated. The 55th reunion for the 1959 team. And Coach, two ranked teams, oh, by the way, playing 5-0. We couldn't have asked for much more than what we saw on Saturday night.
You know, everything about that day was perfect except for one thing. And do I look older? Because I feel like I aged about 10 years on that day. But you know, it was a great day for Harding football, and the fact that we were able to honor the 1959 team, honor Dr. Cliff Gaines, honor Coach Carl Allison, and honor Miss Prock. You know, she was at the front of the Walker brothers too, because obviously they were a big part of that, and it was just a special day for Harding football. Wish we could have gotten the win at the end, but that didn't happen. So you know, we're going to celebrate the victories that we had that day as far as the relationships. And when you watch this tape here and you see my guys mingling with these 1959 guys, and you know, the spirit of brotherhood that we talk about all the time, that is Harding football, was so well represented by the way these guys intermingled. And you know, you're watching right here, you see the Walker brothers, the guys in the very front. You know, that's the 1959 team as they returned. My young guys there in the white jerseys, those are our redshirt freshmen. And then, of course, the guys in the black jerseys, that's our varsity football team. And so pleased with the way these guys were received.
Yeah, I saw Jerry Moat right there, Coach. He had looked forward to this weekend all year.
Right, and understandably so, because you know, those guys have a very, very special relationship, and that's what football does. You know, it's one of those really, really special things when a team comes together. And even if maybe you didn't have that great of a season, or your record on the field wasn't that spectacular, the relationships, that's what's so important.
And we saw Dr. Gaines was right there at the end, grabbing him something to eat.
Right.
He's on the plane going to the road games, and he wouldn't have missed that for anything.
Well, you would not think his energy level, you know, he is as sharp as a tack. He's in his 90s, okay? And you know, that guy has touched so many lives. You know, he is an inspiration to me every time I see him.
And talking about the football game, Coach, I know a disappointing loss, 31-28 in overtime. And the cliche is everything was left on the field. You hear that said so many times, but I couldn't help but think that when I looked down on the field when the football game was over, and to just see both teams, I thought had put everything that they had into that football game.
There is no question about that. You know, both teams were spent at the end. And as I've grown as a coach, you know, and this is my 38th year of coaching, I have come to know that you can't just validate yourself based on a win or a loss. And that sounds, you know, easy for me to say. I lost. But what you have to do is you have to look at the performance of your team, and you have to say, okay, we allowed that game to come down to the final play. There's some things behavior-wise that we could have done differently at the, you know, throughout the course of the game to keep that from happening. Obviously, turnovers, some penalties, maybe some missed assignments. That's what you look at. And you know, if that pass had been deflected with 6 seconds left, you know, we'd be 6-0 and celebrating. But whether you win or lose, you really need to go back and you need to look at your performance and say, okay, how can we improve as a football team? And obviously, we got a really quick turnaround based on who we play this next week.
So a lot of highlights and a very exciting game, and what was a classic between the Tigers and Bisons last Saturday at First Security Stadium. And we will start with first half highlights right after this.
Cook foods to the right temperature using a food thermometer. 3,000 Americans will die from food poisoning this year. Keep your family safer. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.
Every day across America, excess food is gathered by a network of good people at local food banks, giving hope to millions of children who struggle with hunger. They've earned their wings, and you can too. Together, we can solve child hunger. Support Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
We welcome you back to Harding Football with Ronnie Huckeba. Glad to have you with us as we look back at the Tigers and Bisons in a game on Saturday. The Bisons 31-28 loss in overtime. And Coach, very early on, down 3-0 at this point when you get the football for the first time.
Right, we're running the triple option and we get the ball pitched to Ahmad. Jason Aller out there sealing the corner for us. These guys have done a great job against us defensively the last couple of years. And they kind of tweaked their playing a little bit. As we were talking earlier, sometimes it takes us a little while to draw a beat on these guys, and fortunately we were able to do that. But in the meantime, boy, their offense was rolling. We gave them some short field position, and before you know it, we were down pretty big in the ball game.
Yeah, at this point it's 10-0 in the football game.
Right. This is a triple option, pitching the ball to Eric Kelly. Good blocking out in front of him. Of course, we're so proud of our wide receivers and our offensive line, the way they block. This is one phase of the triple option to Jason Aller. Boy, that's a great job right there by our defense. Trayvon Bigelow had a great night for us. He was voted the GAC Defensive Player of the Week for his performance in this game, and it was very well deserved. Man, we're really close right here to hitting a crack and getting a big return up the field. This is the toss. Get about 5 yards on it. You can see, you know, we're not breaking the long runs early in this ball game, and that you have to give credit to them and their defensive plan for, you know, keeping us bottled up to some extent.
And Coach, down 17-0. How important was this drive right here?
This drive was huge. You know, we needed to make something happen. We felt like we were starting to get them figured out just a little bit. You know, we did have to convert. You know, a fourth down to keep the drive alive. Proud of the way we did that. Here's Romo again, you know, tough sledding in the middle, but he's getting it going a little bit, and then we get the ball pitched to Eric Kelly. Great block on the perimeter by Jason Aller. Watched Donatello Luckett block his man all the way into the end zone, and there we go. 7 points on the board for us. We're behind at this point, 17-7. Again, look at our defensive front, bottling those guys up, and linebackers. You know, we're deep in our own territory. We throw the drag to Donatello. This was a critical third down that he converted. Triple option again, got just a little bit of a crack. Jason does a great job of following his blocking, getting in that crease. And here's Romo with the first phase of the triple option.
Sets up a huge play right here, Coach.
Come back to Donatello on the drag. You know, we're running out of time in the first half. We get the ball to him. He's got some space. And, of course, we all know how dynamic he is in space, and that's a 51-yard completion, gets us down in the red zone. Then we throw the boot to Romo out of the backfield. Keenan does a great job of buying some time, getting the ball to Romo, and we're able to go in at halftime just down 17-14.
And I thought that was huge, 17-14 at the half after trailing 17-0. The big play to Donatello to get it downfield, and then Eric Simmons had the big 44-yard reception as well. That was a big play.
You know, we didn't really get anything going until late in the first half, and those two scores were critical. You know, I think that allowed us to go into halftime thinking, okay, we're going to get the ball first. We know we're going to move the football, and gave us a lot of confidence.
Was it almost to the point where you felt like, okay, now we can start over? Because after Ouachita had taken the 17-0 lead, you almost felt like, hey, this is a dead even game as we start the second half. There
is no question that's the way we felt going in. And, you know, we also took the remembrance from last year's game. Started out the exact same way. They jumped out ahead of us 17-0. We ended up winning the ball game. So, you know, we were feeling good when we went in at halftime. Knew we had some corrections to make, obviously, but we felt good about the the game itself.
So a very exciting second half, a roller coaster ride. It was up and down, emotions, and a great college football game at First Security Stadium. We'll look at the second half highlights right after this.
We explore dozens of complex subjects, but sometimes the world sees college students as being the same, lumps us together. That's okay, because the world may underestimate what we can do as strong, responsible, highly trained, and confident Christian professionals. And isn't that what the world needs? Qualities taught one-on-one and valued by us all in a place of faith, learning, and living. Harding University.
You know what, guys? There's a lot of tree branches and dry brush over here. We should probably move the bonfire over there.
I'm guessing Smokey liked that idea.
Welcome back to Harding Football with Ronnie Huckeba. We are at halftime at this part of the game, 17-14. Bison's 2 within 3. You get the football to begin play in the second half, and this is where your team has really played well throughout the season. Third quarter, first drive.
Right. And, you know, we felt great about getting the be back going in this second half after some adjustments we made at halftime. And we start off with Romo there with a great run, about 40 yards. Get the ball to Eric Simmons' pitch. Eric did a great job with that run. He didn't really have a whole lot going in the perimeter there, and he was able to get the ball in the end zone for us. So great job by Eric. This is the 92-yard touchdown run that probably could have been about a 6-yard run with anybody else. But Romo takes it to the house, longest run in school history. And that was a fantastic run. If you go back and look at that in slow motion and see the little subtle moves that he made to get that ball in the end zone, it was a tremendous play.
And John Gay, perfect right there. You're up 8 right now, 28-20.
Right. This last drive, you just really have to give credit to Kyle Frazier. Of course, here's this big deflection and stop by our defense. The guy just made a whole bunch of plays. Great play right there by Dalen Markham, picking that ball off. He came out of nowhere, a very savvy play. And here's Donatella playing defensive end in his face. He throws off his back foot. We got people all around it, and the running back ended up making the catch. And that's one of those kind of things you just have to say, hey, they made the play and we didn't.
Now this is the 2-point conversion to try and tie the game.
Yeah, we had a little drop in there to keep the guy confused. He was not able to go to his first or second choice, and he tucked the ball down and ran it in the end zone, made a great play.
So Washita scores on the final play in regulation, then gets the 2-point conversion after there's no time on the clock, and we head to overtime.
Right. We start off and we're running the midline here. We lose control of the ball, and they get it. And of course, anytime that happens, it's definitely in their favor. This was the first attempt that we blocked, obviously, but their guy was in motion. They called it back. He got another shot and was able to kick that one through. And tough night for the Bisons on the football field.
Yeah, and again, you look at 2 football teams that really played their hearts out, and Washita and Harding, all the history with these 2 teams, these 2 institutions, and how far they'd gone back. You go back to 1928, a 0-0 tie. They resumed the series in 1960, a 0-0 tie, right. And then this is just the kind of game that we have come to expect when these 2 schools play each other.
There's no doubt about it, and I've been a part of a whole bunch of them that were just like that. The game last year was very similar to this. The shoe was on the other foot at that time. We converted a 74-yard slant pass with 1 minute and 12 seconds left to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. And the odds are, in the situation they had the ball with 2 minutes left, they were backed up in their territory. The odds that they would take the ball all the way down, score, and then make the 2-point conversion were very slim, but they were able to do it. And our guys were given every bit of the effort that they had in their body to keep them from doing that. You could look out there on the field and see our defensive guys. I mean, they were completely spent. We had a great effort on their first field goal attempt to block it. But they were able to adjust their protection a little bit. You know, for the penalty, that is one situation where
it was a dead ball foul.
Yeah, messing up helped them. And but that, you know, that happens sometimes. You know, sometimes you don't get the breaks, and luck does play a part in the winning and losing of football games. And so we just have to look at it as, okay, as I said earlier, what did we do that allowed the game to get to that point? Should we have done some things earlier to put the game away? You know, when I look at the film, I say obviously we should have. You know, when Dalen intercepted that pass at midfield, and you know we had the ball with a few minutes left. You know, the first play we run, we get down inside the 10-yard line with a running play that gets called back because of a penalty, and that penalty was a hustle penalty. We were trying our best to make a block, and so you look at things like that and you say, you know, normally we would have run the clock out in that situation and we'd be really happy right now. It didn't happen, so we have to take the things that we can from that football game, learn from them, and move on to the next one.
I know you have to battle through injuries. You've been banged up a little bit up front.
Right.
You've always had guys step up on the defensive side, and I think we saw that with Trayvon Bigelow. You talked about his honor. He had 4.5 tackles for loss and was such a huge part of that defensive effort on Saturday.
Well, Coach Simmons came in yesterday and said Trayvon played his best game, and that's huge for us. He's such a talented player. You know, we played him last year as a true freshman. And he is a true sophomore, and we think he's, you know, going to be one of the best players in this league. And you know, he has the potential to be one of the best players in the country. Nope. And he's hungry to be the best, and we're excited about his future.
And offensively, we talk about Romo a lot, but
right.
we have to talk about him some more. Romo Westbrook, 190 yards, moves to third now all-time on the rushing chart, passing Chris Pearson. And you mentioned it, the longest run in Bison history had to go back to 1990. Alan Dixon had a 90-yard run against Ouachita in 1971, and also that's the longest run in GAC history now.
Right. Well, I can't say enough about Romo Westbrook and the path that he's come since he's been at Harding. You know, he was not really recruited. He was a walk-on. You know, he's a guy that started out in our offense at slot. It was not a great fit for him. We decided to move him to B-back. That has been a tremendous decision for us. It's turned out great obviously for him. He has some really subtle abilities to make cuts, and he's got fantastic vision. He's got fantastic balance. There is not a running back in the country I would trade for him. I think he's tremendously talented. He's not selfish. And if you just go back through the history of since he's been our starting B-back, go back and watch him in the big games. You know, the guy plays big in big games. And, of course, he did that the other night.
So the Bisons fall 31-28 in overtime on Saturday at home to Ouachita. But we're not finished on this week's edition of Harding Football with Ronnie Huckabee. We're going to go back and look some more back to the 1959 team, and we also have a huge game coming up this week down in Arkadelphia against the 4th-ranked Henderson State Reddies. We'll come back and talk about all of that and also a question from a fan for Coach right after this.
The next 30 seconds can save you a lot of money. Just do your laundry in cold and stick to full loads. Auto-sleep your computers. Plug your gadgets in a power strip and switch it off when you're done. Headed out? Turn back your thermostat by 10 degrees. And drive sensibly. The more energy you save, the more money you save. Find other great tips at energysaver.gov.
I am folding the pants. The pants are long. Do they go on my head? Do they? Do the pants go on my head? No. They go on.
Everyday moments can become teaching moments because learning starts long before school does. Give your child the start they need at bornlearning.org.
That's the only game we won, 7-6, and we had to do it by stopping them on the 2-yard line right at the last of the game. And I remember after that seeing a picture of our guys all standing together. I think one or two of them were drinking Cokes, and they were so exuberant because they had beaten somebody that year, the only one we had in the first year. But you got to start somewhere. But it was a wonderful year with many wonderful memories.
In all the sports that I played through high school and college, that I think I could honestly say that Coach Allison was the best coach I ever had. He, along with Coach Prock, who became the head coach later on, really influenced our lives and taught us as much about football as you can possibly teach people, you know. So he was an outstanding coach and a great pick for Harding College at that time.
I remember one thing about his teaching ability when one of the linemen in practice kind of missed a block, and he said, "Let me show you how to do that." He got down on the stance and knocked the guy head over heels. I won't put a name to that, but they'll remember it. He knocked him head over heels with no pads or anything, you know, just as a point maker, not being anything but a good coach. And we all learned to respect and admire and learn from that man.
Coach Allison, I think, had the ability to, since he played all that and teaching technique, he was so enthusiastic. He was doing what he wanted to do, and he did the very best. He gave us above and beyond what you could really expect, you know, under the circumstances. I don't know of another man that could have come in a situation like that, and knowing up front that it was going to be tough sledding, and then with hopes that someday that this would be something worthwhile.
Came back from the Mississippi game, and we'd taken such a beating over there. We made them mad, and they didn't just win, they beat us.
Yeah.
They were ranked third in the nation.
Yeah, and when we got back to campus, we were about ready to wonder about this football thing, but when we got to the locker room that day, he looked at us and called us, "Well, you guys are dragging around here, come follow me." Didn't know what he was going to do, but he led us in a run around the track, back into the locker room, Cokes and ice cream, and sent us home. Next day, we were ready to go again. It was a powerful motivation lesson.
Coach Allison sat down one night, I remember, with me at the dorm. He called me out, and he sat down with me, and he said, "Now, Billy Joe said, next year, we're going to really recruit. And we've got some good boys coming in here. And so you boys are going to have to really work hard in the off season to make the team. And you need to get that word out to everybody." So, you know, I went around to all of them personally, and I said, you know, they're not going to beat me out. I need the little scholarship we had, you know. I said, I'm going to work hard this summer, and I hope all of us do.
The aspect of pain and blood and sacrifice that goes into performing well on a football field creates a closeness between people that I don't think you can get in other sports.
We took our licks, but I think what it meant to us was that we felt very proud that we represented Harding. They provided us with nice uniforms. We looked real good in our uniforms. And we had that big scenic cruiser bus that we rode in that some of the other teams did not have, so that's very impressive.
I was the sports editor of the Petty Jean yearbook for a couple of years there, and I recall writing a caption for those three men, Dr. Cliff Gaines, Dr. Joe Pryor, and M.E. Berryhill, were on the athletic committee at that time. But I captioned that picture of those three standing together in front of the old field house over there as men of vision, you know. And if I had to characterize Dr. Gaines in any single way, I would say that he has truly been a man of vision and a man for the people. I mean, he walks among kings and speaks with a common man. You know, he is a great fan of Harding College sports.
He was then, and he is now, #1 fan.
I really don't feel that I deserve much attention because it was the players and the coaches that really put out the effort.
I think the way the team came together to make this scoreboard possible is simply an outgrowth of what it means to be team and what they experienced together all those years ago.
A tremendous piece, and great to go back and look at that, Coach. And I think one of the things I took away from that was when they were talking about the sacrifice
Right.
to build this program back. And I know they had to be very happy to come back and see this team in the program where it is right now, nationally ranked.
Well, so many of those guys on that football team have had a personal impact on my life. You talk about Dr. Jim City, been the team doctor since 1975. I was privileged to coach his sons, Kyle and Chris, that played football for us here. Here's a picture of these guys trying to get down in a football stance, and you see Coach Moat right there. If I had a chance, I'd get him out on the field, make him run a ladder, a conditioning ladder. That's what he used to make us do. Try to get him in a little bit better shape. And I'm just kidding, Coach Moat. But you talk about Coach Jerry Moat and Coach Cliff Sharp, guys that were on the staff when I played, and Mr. Lathan Garnett, who's the president of our booster club, and I hate to leave anybody out. Ray Griffin, who I was privileged to coach his sons. Jerry Eskew, who has been a man in my life that I've looked to as a mentor. He's been a very successful coach and administrator. So it's just really, really special to me, and so proud those guys were able to come back and be honored. And it meant a lot to our football team, our current football team, to see these guys and the love that they have for Harding football. And these are the guys, these are the pioneers. These are why we have what we have today. So super special day.
And I wanted you to comment the video board. We have not really talked about that.
Right.
It was a great addition to First Security Stadium. The 1959 team that was honored with that.
Right.
And obviously Dr. Gaines and Coach Allison's name on the back of the video board.
Right. That was so special. I got to spend a little time on Saturday with Dirk Allison, that's Coach Allison's son, and Alan Jeter, who married Coach Allison's daughter, Carla. And Alan was my teammate at Harding. He was a left tackle. I was a left guard. We came in together. And Dirk was in school with me and was a tremendous athlete, played on the baseball team. And it was just a really, really special day. And the video board itself, when you walk out onto our turf now and you just look around and you see the brick and wrought iron and the stadium and the press box and the scoreboard addition, we really have a wonderful place. And we don't take a backseat to anybody in Division II, and a lot of Division I schools would love to have what we have. We just feel very, very blessed to have the things that we have.
Absolutely. As the Bisons now look ahead to Henderson State, that will be coming up next on the schedule. They are ranked 4th nationally. And Coach, this week's question, as we go and listen into the question from a fan, talks about turning it around after what is a tough loss.
Hi, I'm Nathan Alexander. Coach Huckeba, with such a heartbreaking loss and a big game coming up, how do you turn the page and move on to the next game?
I can't think of a more appropriate question than that, Billy. We turn the page because of our culture and who we are. One of the things that we try to live by in our football program is a hashtag that I use a lot of times. If I tweet something, it's IWPWE, I will persist without exception. Circumstances are not going to affect my attitude. My attitude is going to have a tremendous effect on my circumstances. So whether we won or lost, we're going to persist. And we're going to persist this week in our preparations for Henderson State because of the kind of men that I am privileged to coach and the kind of men that I'm privileged to work with that are going to prepare these guys during the course of this week. We're going to bounce back. We have a tremendous challenge ahead of us. You look at Henderson State, they have no weaknesses. They're a very well-coached football team. They have some of the most dynamic playmakers in our conference and in Division II. The thing about it is we got a very good football team too. And the fact that we lost a close game last week, that's fine. Let's turn the page. Let's focus on Henderson State. Let's prepare like we are, this is going to be our last football game to get to play, which is the way you approach every week. And let's go down there and have fun and enjoy the day and enjoy the competition and see what happens. And we can't wait to do that.
What an exciting 2 weeks now. A nationally ranked opponent last week. The Bisons, after the loss, you dropped to number 23, but still nationally ranked, and face an undefeated Henderson State team that is ranked number 4 in the nation. So again, the spotlight is very bright on the Bisons this weekend.
Right. And, you know, it's a home game for Henderson, and it's their homecoming, and I know those guys are going to be ready to play us. We had a very competitive game with them last year here on our home field. It was a very physical football game on both sides, and expect the same.
All right, Coach, always great to be with you. Best of luck this week, and we'll see you again next week after the Henderson State game.
Thanks, Billy.
That's all for this week's edition of Harding Football with Ronnie Huckeba. Thanks for being with us, and we'll see you next time.